The Oval Office was a pressure cooker. The air hung heavy, thick with tension. Phones buzzed incessantly, aides scurried in and out, faces etched with worry. President Trump, his face a mask of thunder, paced behind the resolute desk. The name Waltz echoed in the room, each syllable a hammer blow to the president's already frayed nerves. The walls seemed to be closing in on Mike Waltz, the national security advisor. A chill ran down his spine, a stark contrast to the stifling heat of the situation. His career, his reputation, his future, all hung precariously in the balance. A single devastating mistake had brought him to this precipice. Waltz, a decorated war hero, felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. This time, however, it wasn't the battlefield that posed the threat. It was the minefield of Washington politics, a battlefield far more treacherous and unforgiving. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for his phone, the device suddenly feeling heavy as a brick. The news was spreading like wildfire, consuming everything in its path. Signalgate. The scandal had a name now, a name that would forever be etched in the annals of political history, a name synonymous with his downfall. Mike Waltz, the retired Army Green Beret, had always been a man of action, decisive, unwavering. His military background had instilled in him a deep sense of patriotism and a belief in the power of American might. But those very qualities, once admired, were now being called into question. His appointment as National Security Advisor had been met with both praise and apprehension. Some saw him as a steady hand, a necessary counterpoint to Trump's impulsiveness. Others, however, viewed him as too hawkish, too eager to deploy American military power. Waltz's fatal error was a careless mistake, a moment of distraction with catastrophic consequences. He had intended to share a classified message about a potential US strike on Houthi rebels in Yemen with a small group of trusted advisors. But in a moment of haste, his finger had hovered over the wrong contact. Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic, a man known for his sharp critiques of the Trump administration, had received the message. A message that contained not only the details of the planned strike, but also highly sensitive intelligence provided by Israel. As if the accidental leak wasn't damaging enough, another bombshell was about to drop. The Washington Post, in a scathing expose, revealed Waltz's secret back-channel communications with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The report detailed a series of clandestine calls and encrypted messages, all meticulously documented. Waltz, it seemed, had been coordinating with Netanyahu on potential military action against Iran, bypassing established diplomatic channels and, most importantly, President Trump himself. The revelations sent shockwaves through Washington. Accusations of insubordination and rogue actions filled the air. The delicate balance of power within the White House, always tenuous at best, was thrown into complete disarray. Waltz found himself increasingly isolated, his actions condemned by both Democrats and Republicans alike. His hawkish stance, once tolerated, was now seen as a dangerous liability. Jeffrey Goldberg, the accidental recipient of Waltz's signal message, was a man used to being at the center of a storm. A seasoned journalist with a reputation for breaking major stories, he understood the weight of the information that had landed in his lap. He also understood the potential fallout. Publishing the contents of the message would undoubtedly trigger a political earthquake. It would compromise national security, potentially endanger lives, and further inflame an already volatile situation in the Middle East. After consulting with his editors and legal team, Goldberg made the difficult decision to contact the White House. He informed them of the leak, stressing the sensitive nature of the information and his intention to cooperate fully with any investigation. His call set off a frantic scramble within the White House. Damage control was the immediate priority, but the situation was spiraling out of control. The leak was no longer just a hypothetical threat. It was a full-blown crisis. Section 5. Fury in the Oval. The Oval Office was a cauldron of raw emotion. Trump, his face contorted with rage, unleashed a torrent of fury upon anyone within earshot. His anger, always simmering just beneath the surface, had erupted with the force of a volcano. How could this happen? He roared, his voice echoing through the room. Waltz is supposed to be one of the good ones, a military man. Who can I trust in this town? His aides stood frozen, heads bowed, terrified to utter a word. They had witnessed his legendary temper before, but this time felt different. This wasn't just a passing storm, this was a Category 5 hurricane. The MAGA base, Trump's most ardent supporters, mirrored his fury. Social media platforms exploded with outrage, hashtags like #TraitorWaltz and #DeepStateCoup's trending nationwide. Laura Loomer, the far-right influencer known for her inflammatory rhetoric, seized upon the scandal, painting Waltz as a deep state operative intent on undermining the president. Section 6. Damage Control. In the eye of the storm, Mike Waltz fought to regain his footing. He knew he had made a grave error, one that could potentially cost him his career. But surrender was not in his nature. He was a fighter, a survivor. He spent hours on the phone, calling in every favor, trying to contain the fallout. He reached out to allies in Congress, pleading for their understanding. He assured the president of his loyalty, expressing deep remorse for his actions. But the damage was done. The trust had been broken. The whispers had begun. His enemies, both within and outside the White House, sensed blood in the water. They circled, eager to deliver the final blow. The pressure was immense. Sleep became a distant memory. The weight of his mistake pressed down on him, suffocating him. But he couldn't afford to crumble. He had to find a way to salvage his career, to clear his name. Section 7. A fateful bargain. As the scandal raged on, President Trump faced a dilemma. Firing Waltz outright would be an admission of chaos within his administration, a feast for the media he so often derided. Yet keeping him in place was untenable, a constant reminder of the breach of trust. A solution, engineered by his advisors, presented itself, a sideways move. Waltz would be offered the position of UN ambassador, a prestigious post but one with considerably less influence. It was a demotion disguised as a promotion, a face-saving measure for both parties. Waltz, battered and bruised but desperate to remain in the game, reluctantly accepted. It was a bitter pill to swallow, a far cry from the halls of power he once occupied. But it was a lifeline, a chance to rebuild his reputation. The announcement was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as a slap on the wrist, a sign that Trump valued loyalty above competence. Others viewed it as a necessary step, a chance to bring stability back to the White House. Section 8. Trial by Senate. The battle, however, was far from over. Waltz's appointment as UN ambassador required Senate confirmation, a process that promised to be anything but smooth sailing. The Democrats, sensing an opportunity to land a blow against the already wounded Trump administration, vowed to make him pay for his mistakes. Senator Tammy Duckworth, a rising star in the Democratic Party and a fierce critic of the president, emerged as Waltz's most formidable opponent. A decorated Iraq War veteran herself, she was uniquely positioned to challenge his judgment and qualifications. The hearings, when they finally began, were a public spectacle. The Senate chamber became a battleground, with both sides using the opportunity to score political points. Waltz, once accustomed to the deference shown to a decorated soldier, found himself on the defensive, his every word scrutinized, his every action judged. The media frenzy reached fever pitch. Cameras captured every tense exchange, every awkward silence. Pundits dissected every utterance, every gesture, searching for clues about the outcome of the confirmation battle. Section 9. A cloud of uncertainty. As the confirmation hearings dragged on, the outcome remained uncertain. The Democrats, led by the relentless Senator Duckworth, chipped away at Waltz's credibility, highlighting inconsistencies in his testimony and questioning his fitness to represent the United States on the world stage. Waltz, though visibly shaken by the relentless grilling, fought to maintain his composure. He defended his actions, expressing remorse for his mistakes, but insisting that he had always acted in the best interests of the country. The tension in the air was palpable. The weight of the decision hung heavy over the Senate chamber. The future of Mike Waltz, once a rising star in the Republican Party, now hung precariously in the balance. Would he survive the trial by Senate, or would his political career end in disgrace? The answer, it seemed, was blowing in the wind, a storm cloud gathering over the Capitol dome, casting a long shadow over the future of American foreign policy.